Hey guys, welcome to the Technologadget Podcast number 5 for April 14th. I'm your host, Jacob Holt. Let's get started. And guys, just to start off with, this is not the normal week in tech that I've been doing. I kind of got bored of that, listening to myself talk over and over about that. So hopefully we'll get some guests on soon so we can talk. If you would like to be a guest, please shoot us an email or something so that way you can be in the podcast. If you've got something interesting to say, if there's a topic you'd like to talk about with us, that'd be just fine. You can email me at program94@technologadget.com, I believe. I actually just had to remember that off the top of my head. But anyway, I'll look it up at the end of this video. But let's move on. I'm just going to sit here and ramble, kinda, or, rant to an extent. So if you guys don't want to listen, you can just go on and turn it off now. Or if you guys would like to listen, I really encourage you to. I won't just totally talk about nothing. Let's go on and get started here. So, then this is kind of like Week in Tech, but I thought I was kind of getting stuck in a rut, so I had to do something different here. So the white iPhone 4 is rumored to be launched this April, which is really exciting. And I personally know some people who are waiting faithfully for that white iPhone 4. I mean, they've waited for 10 months plus, for a white iPhone 4. And it's just ridiculous that Apple has not released it yet. They reiterated today that it will be launching in spring, I hear, to Bloomberg. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm really excited. I personally don't like the white iPhone 4. I think it's cool looking and it looks nice, but it's not my style, but it is cool. I have a black iPhone 4, as you guys know, and for a time, you could actually order parts and make your iPhone white, but I think Apple finally fixed everything with the issues, and hopefully it'll be launching soon. I'm saying they're in production right now, getting ready to ship out. So really exciting. Next coming up is April 18th, which is Monday, which is also tax day, which is pretty cool. The BlackBerry playbook will ship, which is interesting. Finally, BlackBerry's getting into this game. I've been waiting for a long time for them to get into something like this. I think they're really falling behind in the market, and they really need to do something. The BlackBerry playbook, hopefully, I don't think it'll save the company, but I think maybe it'll get them on the right track, at least software-wise. I hear some issues with software, from some of the early reviews, where they're saying the software's not ready, BlackBerry has said it's a beta build of the software, but since they're so close to shipping, this has to be close to the final software, if not the total final software. So I do find that kind of interesting. But the BlackBerry playbook is going to be really good from what I can see of it. Hopefully I get my hands on one soon. But the BlackBerry playbook, it does seem to be very smooth it's very WebOS-like. I really think HP should just sue, ridiculously over this. But, oh well. That's just what I see. But anyway, the BlackBerry playbook, like I said, will be shipping. It's really exciting. So hopefully this will bring them a competitor to the iPad, because the iPad, I do think, needs more competitors to drive innovation. Next I have on my list here is the I can't really say BlackBerry Casira Echo, but it's just the Casira Echo. Casira is a company, obviously. Will be launching April 17th, from what I understand, which will be a Sunday, which is an odd launch day. And this phone is one of the first phones I've ever seen with dual touchscreens. It has two 3.5-inch touchscreens, no keyboard. It's a very chunky phone. And this is really neat to see, that kind of innovation from a company that doesn't actually do very much from what I can tell. Casira, I've known them mostly for making their non-smartphones, but they made a smartphone. They've optimized this for 2 screens with Android 2.2, which is, bummer it's not 2.3. Which I think is the main problem with Android fragmentation, is that, the software is already out of date, and they're probably building it on 2.1, and they already changed before. So anyway, it is running Android 2.2. You have some really neat multitasking features, which I find really neat. I really like, the innovation that is, but I don't see everybody here in a few months walking around with a dual-screen smartphone. Just don't see it. And it actually comes with a second battery, too, which is really funny because it drains so much battery life with those 2 touchscreens. So I don't see people just walking around with, with a huge 3.5-inch touchscreen phone. And so anyway, that is the Casira Echo. Like I said, launching April 17th on Sprint. So be looking out for that. Final Cut Pro 10 or X. I don't know what exactly. I call it 10 because the X is Roman numeral 10. But Final Cut Pro 10 was demoed this week at the NAB conference, which is really neat, or Super Meet, whatever you want to call it. Was demoed this week. It's taking all the really great design cues from GarageBand, which which is what I'm using now to record this, and say iMovie, and they're putting that all together and making a brand new design for Final Cut, which is really great because Final Cut to me has gotten stale. It has gotten very stale, and I personally haven't used it, but just looking at it, it hasn't changed since 2009. And the look is done, and I was really excited that Apple had decided that I needed to change the UI at least. I don't know. It's going to have a bunch of new features too, and it's actually going to be 64-bit, which is great too. I know I'm kind of random there, but it's actually going to be 64-bit. If you don't know what 64-bit is, if you're only running a 32-bit operating system, like Mac OS 10 is a 64-bit OS. Used to not totally be, but now it's totally a 64-bit OS. And that means that you can take advantage of more than 4 gigabytes of RAM. I don't know how, I think up to infinite. I don't know exactly how much you can take advantage of, but if you're doing 32, it's just up to 4 gigs. 64 is 4 plus, so 4 and beyond pretty much, which is really cool. It's nice to see they're finally doing that, because before you could have a 32 gigabyte Mac Pro, and you wouldn't be getting very much performance out of that than you would from a iMac with 4 gigs of RAM. So it's very interesting to see. So I'm really glad that they've done that. If you want to check it out, it's not on Apple's website, so you have to go to like Engadget, or I don't know if it's on Technologadget, but I guarantee it'll be there. Hank, that's your clue to get it on there now. And so it's just really, I really recommend you check that out. You don't have a lot of news on it yet. Apple said it will be releasing in June for $300, which is, for professional software, is really fairly priced, I think. It'll be launching in the Mac App Store, and it's just really neat to see. I'm excited to see that come. So hopefully it will really deliver what Apple promises with it. Next is, and this is very quickly, iOS 4.3.2 launched today, Thursday, April 14th. So if you have a iPhone or for AT&T, so GSM, and so go update if you're having FaceTime issues, things like that. The Verizon iPad 2 fix is here now, which is great. And so go download that now. Run! Go get it. But next on my list is the Wii HD is rumored to launch at E3 this year, which I think is about time, Nintendo. I know you like the low price cost of the Wii. I really know that, and that is a good business for you. I think the low price gaming market is relevant, but I do not think that sitting on that alone is going to keep you afloat. You're going to have to keep moving and keep innovating in that market, like you do with the Nintendo 3DS. So that's what I have to say about that. And so hopefully there will be a Wii HD. You'll get maybe some more refined controls. I don't think it'll just be like a Wii now. They'll just make all the graphics HD, because if they do, it won't sell very well. They're gonna have to come in, add more precise motion sensing, make it really great. Maybe make that motion sensing bar less ugly, because I own a Wii actually, and it's really fun to play. You can tell it's old, and the hardware is old, but but I really hope that a Wii HD comes in. I don't like to see any company fall behind like this, so hopefully Nintendo will come out there at E3 and say, okay, here's what we have, we've been working on it, and here's Zelda for the Wii HD, or whatever they wind up calling it. So I would like to see that happen a lot. I really like the idea of a Wii in high definition, considering that the Wii now is just in standard def, and if you're playing on a high def TV, which is, I think, the way it should be intended to play. You gather around with your friends and play a game of golf. I think that's the way it's intended to be, and you're not going to play on a 12-inch screen, or even a 20-inch screen. You're going to play on your 30, 40-inch TV in the basement. So I think that is why the Wii HD needs to happen, to help Nintendo out sales-wise. Keep the regular Wii still around. It's a great price point. I think it's going out at $150 here soon, or it's rumored that it will be. So, and that is a beautiful price point, I think, for gaming. If they can keep that and maybe add a new Wii and say this is the one on steroids and it's got this many more features, and I think that's what needs to be done. Next is IE10 was demoed this week. It looks a lot like IE9. It's just a beta, so it's until what will be coming with it. But the big kicker to me was it will not be for Windows Vista. They're phasing out Windows Vista effective immediately, pretty much. So that's interesting. No word on when it's going to launch, I don't believe. But it's just neat. Of course, they compare it to the Safari and things like that. But one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about real quick is that those demos that Microsoft shows with these really high frames per second things. That is if it is optimized perfectly for that computer with that network speed, with that OS, and everything. It's optimized for that, exactly for that browser. And the likelihood of that happening in Internet Explorer 9 or 10 while you're using it is very unlikely. Nobody's going to sit down and work their tail off to create a Windows or an Internet Explorer 10 specific website if they're the ones that can take advantage of it. So that's just me personally. Safari 5 can do those things too with HTML and things like that. They just choose not to show that. And nobody's going to optimize it just for Safari either. Because this is a world where there's more than one web browser and they can't just have it specifically made for that. And I think that's where Microsoft's failing in that aspect. Next is that the Netflix Connect, like K-I-N, the Microsoft Xbox 360 Connect app was updated today. It now allows you to swipe through with the Connect, and it's really neat. I don't really have much more on that. I haven't actually used it considering I don't own a Connect because I am disabled, so I'm in a wheelchair, and the Connect is not really great if you can't stand. So I'll never be able to play it, and that's just fine. I'll never be able to test that out for you guys. But I'll tell you how it works if I get to see it later. Next is a very interesting topic that I want to talk about is a Apple TV, but an Apple HD TV. So it's like a TV like you buy at Walmart, and you go and plug it in like you do a Samsung TV or a LG TV. I lost my train of thought there. And will Apple do this? All these analysts are coming out and saying, this is what Apple's doing. This is what Apple's doing. I think this is what's happening. So, report on it. And here's what my opinions are on this. I do not see Apple making just an HD TV. I don't see that like a built-in TV when Apple has, those little when they have Apple TV boxes that work so well. I think their little Apple TV box for $100 is just great. It's great priced. It's got great features. I think if they could add a gaming component to it, an App Store component to it, they would sell better than they are now. And they're selling really good. They sold 1 million of them in a few months, which is great. So I think that Apple doesn't need to worry about a physical TV, like a screen and all that, and a 40-inch or 50-inch. I don't think Apple needs to get into that business. I think that Apple's going to sit down and either create great things for the Apple TV box they have now. And one thing I do want to bring up is, now, let me talk about what I think is next for the Apple TV then. And one thing I found interesting that I actually just thought of is the next Apple TV. So what is it going to have? It's going to have an A5 chip, so it's going to support 1080p high definition. Unfortunately, Apple will start having to serve up videos in 1080p, I guess on iTunes. I don't know. Netflix, I think, does some 1080p, but because I think the PS3 is the only one that supports it now. But I think that's probably the reason the technical decision for Apple was to not go 1080. One was hardware-wise. Two was there's not enough 1080p video out there. But I can see that's possible, Apple having a 1080p Apple TV. It'll just have a little bit more space, a little bit better overall. And then there will be that gaming App Store component, which will get Apple out there. Keep it $100. They'll sell like crazy. You use your iPhone, iPad as a controller maybe for this device, or iPod Touch. Maybe they'll ship it with a controller, maybe like the Apple remote that had an accelerometer. I don't know. But it will be really neat, and it'll be great just to sit down and open a game on your iPhone, and it jumps up to your to the TV. I'm really excited to see that. I want to see more AirPlay things like that. And that is pretty much all I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening of me just talk here and rant. Hopefully we will soon have somebody on us. I know I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Hopefully we'll soon have somebody on here to hang out and talk with me. So I'm going to go on and smoothly look up what my email is for Technologadget, so that way you guys can know what you guys can email me at, and I can't find it because it looks like the page has been taken down. So you guys can just email me at jacob@proguy94.com if you would like to be in the podcast. If you have anything interesting, any topics you'd like to talk about, even some of your favorite Mac apps. That's what I was going to do originally, but I thought that'd be kind of boring. So please feel free to do that. I really encourage you guys to do that. And thank you guys so much for listening. And I guess I won't see you guys. I struggle with the ending part every time. But I hope you guys will tune in next week for the Technologadget Podcast.